Yes, sirree. Here we go, and a very warm welcome to the midweek edition of Good Day, Grenada. I'm George Grant, and today happens to be the 11th day of September, 9/11. 9/11. Bring back memories? Yeah? Oh, yeah. Folks, nice of you to join us this morning. There she goes. There she goes. This lady sleeps with a computer or a smartphone next to her. Hazel wins the race this morning. Hazel, 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 Hazel. And she's in such a hurry to say good morning. First of all, she says, good morning, Mr. G. Make sure she's first, right? And then after that, when she breathes a sigh of relief that she's won, she comes back and says, Happy Wednesday, everyone. Well. Congratulations, Hazel. Keep it up. And also joining her, this lady's getting closer and closer and closer. Margaret's also saying hello to you folks. Boy, I'm so glad that you're there this morning, Margaret. Think you're really going to find this morning's session interesting. My dear friends, we have got a full hour, and I'm telling you off the bat, don't be too surprised. I don't want to intrude too much on your time, but don't be surprised if we run a little bit over time this morning. And let me explain to you why. We got so much going on here this morning. I have actually decided well ahead of time to drop the GIS report, the national report. We're dropping that this morning because it's going to be a very busy morning discussing a very crucial topic. And so I thought, let's devote as much time as possible to doing this, okay? I am going to sneak just a few seconds in right off the bat to share with you a comment that was sent to me yesterday by a friend of mine, and I'm going to read that right at the top of the program this morning, and then we'll get into the Bahamas. Yeah, Whew. The Bahamas. I'm going to show you a short clip, another heart-wrenching story from the Bahamas. And I hope CNN doesn't mind. I grabbed this off CNN. Somebody sent it to me, and I grabbed it. If that doesn't move your heart, I really don't know what will. Then, as a result of that clip, actually that clip is what has sparked this morning's discussion. We're going to do some brainstorming on how we can help the people of the Bahamas. And yes, today being Wednesday, Sherron's going to be here as she normally is. However, rather than sitting here alone this morning, she's going to be joined by 3 other people. 2 of them right here in Grenada, and the other person way across the Atlantic, all the way out there in the Azores. Even as I speak to you, off the corner of my eye, I can see that he's there. So Sherron's going to be joined by Earle Maitland, Joel Mark, and Sean Paton. All right? So there's a lot cooking here this morning, and these folks are going to be part of the brainstorming that we're going to do as to how we may help the people of the Bahamas. You're going to find out that there's at least one creative way of doing so, which came up, and that is also influencing the decision to do the program that we're doing this morning. But then we're going to ask you to decide. Give us your advice, all right? We'll be all ears. All right. Let me, before I get into it, let me take a look here, see who's around on Facebook. Fitzroy Adams Hazel saying, I'm at my desk. Well, then you sleep at your desk, Hazel. Every morning, first. Benedict Cador saying, wonderful Wednesday to you folks. Anthea Rillo, top of the day to everyone. Top of the day to you too, Anthea. Arthur Langine is chiming in from the Big Apple. Deborah Parker Stratus Robinson saying, always great to see you. I'm always so happy to see you as well, Debs. Thanks for chiming in. Claude Putnam is there. Arthur Langine is saying, is it about the blind man? Arthur, your curiosity has gotten the better of you, hasn't it, Arthur? I'm not going to tell you. Chester Simon is chiming in from Zurich in Switzerland. And John is saying good morning in the world from a sunny, sparsely clouded Carriacou. John, we missed you yesterday, man. Where the heck were you? You didn't even send an excuse. Geez, for crying out loud. You're slipping. Okay, so that's it. Just once again, let me go through the rundown this morning. We're going to talk about that little comment that somebody sent me about government department with no sign and no phone. It's funny, but it's not funny. Then we're going to take another look at a heart-wrenching story from the Bahamas. We're going to do some brainstorming on how we can help the people of the Bahamas. And then we've got this big discussion with Sherron, Earle, Joel, and Sean. All right? So there you have it. Like I said, a busy hour ahead of you this morning, and thanks for being a part of it. Now, this comment was sent to me yesterday by email. Listen to this carefully. A little known government, a little known government entity known as Office of the Gaming Commission was relocated sometime last year from H.A. Blaze Street to the financial complex. Available information that the department forms part indicates that the department forms a part of the Inland Revenue Department and the Ministry of Finance. The Office of the Gaming Commission is now housed in the offices vacated by the BNTF, that's the Basic Needs Trust Fund, and that's in the Nawassa compound on the Carenage. As it stands now, the BNTF sign is still in place. There is no signage which identifies the offices of the Commission, and worst yet, the department does not have a telephone number. The Prime Minister indicated recently that the system is in crisis. Given the fact that he is the head of government, and this is happening in a ministry for which he has direct responsibility, speaks volumes. The NNP administration can now be described as a ship on the high seas without a compass or a captain. Dr. Keith Mitchell is now a modern-day version of George Chambers, former Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember the Calypso by Gypsy? Captain, the ship is sinking. Well, that is ever so relevant in Grenada. The nation deserves better. I'm not going to mention the name of the person who sent this to me, but let me tell you, speaks volumes, speaks volumes. Okay, now, just in case you didn't believe me about this guy in the Azores, take a look. See that guy sitting over there? He's been with us on this program once, not on this program, but on this platform. His name is Sean Paton, and he is all the way over in the Azores. and Sean is going to be joining us very shortly. And let's take a look now at the video that moved me to do this program this morning. It's another heart-wrenching story from the Bahamas.
Now, one man whose story is heroic. Brent Lowe is now in Nassau after being evacuated from the Abacos, and I appreciate your time, Brent, so much tonight. I mean, your story is incredible. You carried your son, 24 years old, to safety as the floodwaters were rising. The roof had blown off of your home. I know your son has cerebral palsy. He wasn't able to walk. You had to carry him. And you yourself, Brent, can't see. You're blind. I mean, tell me what happened.
Yeah.
Hey, Roger.
Well, I had to do it. My sister-in-law was there. Her name is Dept. And it was her that said that water was coming into the house, so we have to go. And at that time, it was raining and it blowing hard. So I picked him up, threw him on my shoulder. And when I stepped off my porch, my front porch, the water was chin high, up to my chin. And it was her aunt, family, some of her family, because their roof blew off and they came over to my house. And then my roof blew off, so we all had to walk out into the water, into the wind, to the neighbor's house.
I mean,
So,
how far away was that,
what
Brent?
happened, but
How far away was that? I mean, what did it?
It was at least a 5-minute walk.
But it felt like much more.
Especially in the water, it felt longer than that. Yeah, especially with the deep water, it felt a lot longer than that.
I mean, I just am having people try to understand. I mean, that the bravery of what you did when you grab your son and you step off that porch and the water's up to your neck and you cannot see. You must have been so frightened.
Yeah, I was terrified. Especially, I didn't realize the water was that deep. I was thinking maybe knee deep. Until I step off and I realized, God, I wonder if it's going to get any deeper, because that means I'm going to have to swim with him. You know what I mean? But thankfully, it really didn't get over my head. But, you know, I thank God for my sister-in-law, too. Her name was Dept. She was a really big help to me. I can tell you that.
I know that your son is now in Nassau, but you haven't yet been reunited with him. Have you been able to speak with him, Brent? Is he okay?
No. He's with her. My sister-in-law, he's with her. That's my ex-wife's sister. He's with her right now. But I really hope to get in contact with him, because I really miss him. I want to see him.
Well, you saved his life. I mean, you know, you were then taken to Nassau, Brent, because you need the dialysis treatments. I know that you need them 3 times a week, and they said if you didn't get that, you wouldn't be able to live.
Yeah.
And I know the Coast Guard is now having to pick and choose, you know, who they can save, because just the depth of the need. You must be so thankful right now that you are okay.
Yes, I am. I am very much. Very thankful.
So, Brent, what happens for you now? I mean, your home is gone. Your community is gone. What will you do?
I don't know, and it looks like it's going to be a long time before we get to go back home. So, you know, I'm 49 years old. My son, 24 years old. I've been disabled for 11 years. And all the time, I've never asked anybody for anything. I just went about, me and my family, and took care of my family, me and my kids, with the help of my ex-wife, and we did it. But right now, I need help. I really need help. I don't know exactly what we're going to do, but we really, really need help.
And what do you feel you need most? I mean, I would imagine you need a place to go. You need a place to be.
We need a place to go, yeah. and him being in the situation he is, we had to have a caretaker, a living caretaker, right? Because when I go out on dialysis, we need somebody who's going to be there and take care of him. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know exactly what we're going to do. We need help.
Well, Brent, thank you very, very much for taking time to share your story with us, and our thoughts are with you and your son, hoping that you are able to be with him very soon.
All right. Thank you for having me.
And sitting right next to Earle is this gentleman whom I met, must have been about 2 years ago. He appeared on Sundays with George Grant. This gentleman's name is Joel Mark. And Joel is a very experienced sailor. I know you were trying to circumnavigate the globe. Have you?
Yes.
You have.
Still.
You're still trying.
Still got the intention.
Still got the intention. All right.
Yes.
And this gentleman you met just a few minutes ago, I snuck a quick peek at him. This gentleman is another sailor, by the way. He's also a very experienced journalist, a freelance journalist, and he's also an environmentalist. And his name is Sean Paton. Now, he pretty much joins us every morning on Gudday Grenada. And Sean is an integral part of this whole program coming together this morning. Let me start with you, Joel. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I found out within the past couple of weeks that you had planned on sailing up to the Bahamas. You have your own boat.
Yes, that's true.
Okay. And you were going to sail up to the Bahamas and try to help the people up there.
Yes, of course, that's true.
All right. And something else that caught my attention was that your cohort here, Mr. Earle Maitland, decided he was going to be joining you on this trip.
Yes, of course. That is the reason why we're all together here today.
Yeah. All right. Now, along came this video that I saw, the video I just played, about a blind man. I think this gentleman is, 49 years old, blind man in the Bahamas, blind, who put his 24-year-old son, who was suffering from cerebral palsy. He put this kid, grown up, on his shoulder and went wading out in water up to his neck to try and save this young man. Okay? I sent that video to our friend Sean, who took a look at that, and he said, you know, George, I know that Joel is going up there. We can't help everybody in the Bahamas, but perhaps we might be able to help
Some of them.
some of them.
Yep.
All right? And that's the whole idea, right?
Exactly.
That's the whole idea. And I said, you know what, Sean, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't we get together on Wednesday morning and do some brainstorming? All right? Now, I'm going to stop there and ask you, Joel, to tell me what your initial plan was.
My initial plan is to get up there, well, first of all, muster the support, the supplies to get up there because of the basically the need, the immediate moment, and the time of need. The human being, and remembering Ivan, what it was like. We did needed other support and assistance, which is why we are here today as a strong people. So we have to remember in times of need, desperate times, that we can, once we can reach out our hand in any way we can, in terms of basically where there's a will, there's a way. Once you're willing, then you'll find and need lots of support. So this is my initiative in terms of reaching out. It's far way off, which can be a part of you getting there, which can turn a lot of people off. But at the same time, we can still muster, and at least one person is enough to carry enough for to save lives and to put aid and bring back hope to people.
I'm sure you recognize that while this is a super initiative, you're not the only one. I'm sure there are a lot of people all over the Caribbean who want to go up there and lend a helping hand.
Yes, of course, I do believe that, but in my neck of the woods here, as far as I know, in terms of transportation and taking physical stuff up there, I think, as far as I know, I'm the first one who took the initiative to sound the bell, ring the bell, and go forward with it.
All right. Now, as I mentioned, I subsequently heard that Earle had decided he's going with Joe. You know how to swim, boy? Huh?
Not that great, but I'm sure he has
Life jackets.
life jackets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do this?
Well, it's all part of being human, right? All part of doing God's work. That's the most important thing. Initially, the plan was not to go to the Bahamas. The plan was actually to assist whatever agencies we have here in Grenada to gather stuff and send it to the people. I was of the opinion that the agencies we had here, including NADMA, would have had transportation arranged to send the food items, because persons cannot live without water, they cannot live without bread, right? We got some contributions, some significant contributions from Montpellier, Ms. Rolanda McQueen, and I contacted NADMA, but I was told that they are only collecting monetary contributions. This was, I was in a bit of a dilemma in hearing that. So what I did, and the persons that work along with me in the charity organization, we contacted Caribbean Airlines and LIAT as well. We were asked to send emails to get responses, but as God has it, Mr. Mark here went on GVN TV. He had the same initiative. He has a kind heart as well, and he is actually going. And we met with Mr. Mark just last week, Friday, and we were told that 3 vessels will be leaving. And we decided, we believe the best thing will be to accompany Mr. Mark. And there we had it, the dilemma that we had. It faded away in a matter of seconds. And it shows the kindness of people. It shows that we must continue to keep hope in humanity, because although we might find some trials along the way on this long journey, there's always hope, right? And I'm glad to sit here with Mr. Mark.
All right.
Yeah?
It's my pleasure also. And
Yeah.
one thing I gotta say, he wouldn't be going because he's gonna be. I told him, well, in the event that we have enough supplies again to come back forward, then he's going to go on the other trip. So he's going to be the soldier on the ground here, still mustering support.
By the way, how long is the sailing trip up to the Bahamas from here?
I reckon it would take about a week, roughly, give or take, because
Okay.
it's just around 1,400 miles.
Wow. All right. Let me turn to the Azores now. This gentleman sitting here, Sean. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. Good morning to your listeners, and good morning to you in the studio.
Morning, Sean.
Sean, you obviously heard about the blind gentleman in the Bahamas, and thought, hey, maybe this is one individual we could single out. Take it from there.
Well, the thing is, George, you sent me that video, of course, and it really did touch a note in my heart, especially because my brother is blind, and I could get a sense of the drama that this man had been through. Also, of course, having visited post-hurricane destinations, I'm fully familiar with the carnage that's there and what he may have to go back to. Now, that made me very solemn in as much as I felt inadequate. What can we do to help? Can we do anything? And I was reminded of a story about a young girl walking along the beach with her mother, and there were thousands of starfish stranded on the shoreline. And she said to the mother, I'm going to pick them up and put them back. And the mother said, well, there's so many of them, darling. You'll only manage to help a few. And she said, but the ones I help will be really grateful. And when I saw that video, I thought, well, this is a chance. Then I saw Joel's post on Facebook, and it dawned on me that, okay, just to go up there blindly with goodwill, a ship full of good intention is nothing. But to go with a mission and to go with the equipment to achieve that mission, which would be to help this man find his hope and build his home back, that for me gave it a meaning. And so that's where I am at the moment, George.
All right. Now, first of all, there's a comment here on Facebook. Michelle Forsyth says, I believe that was because the authorities in the Bahamas stipulated that they wanted cash contributions. I was baffled by this. You have heard from Joel his initial plans, and you've heard from Earle his initial plans, you've heard from Sean. Now, since those initial plans, there have been some minor changes, okay? And Earle, I'm going to go to you. I'm going to start with you. You mentioned to me last night that your accompanying Joel was questionable at this time. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so basically from Joel's expertise in sailing and dealing with issues like these, what he had advised me to do was remain in Grenada, gather stuff, and we will return on the second trip. Based on what we know at this point, what is actually happening on those islands is that they are prioritizing evacuations. Unfortunately, I do not possess the expertise to assist these people. I also do not want to be a burden on Joel, where he might have to end up spending much time to save me instead of going to, I don't want to be a burden. Also, we found out that there are talks of an outbreak of cholera and some other diseases that might be there. We saw some video footage from persons who we believe to be survivors of the Dorian, and they are saying that the streets are full of corpses. It is extremely, it's a sad sight. It is really sad. I honestly would like to go, but at this point, based on the advice that I was given by Joel and others, I think I would be more useful here gathering items so we could send up. They're not at the point of rebuilding as yet. So I will use whatever abilities I have to better the situation and not make it worse. Yeah.
Okay. I want to get back to Sean, but because Sean also has some ideas relating to what you're saying here. But let me bring in Sherron here. Sherron, you've been sitting here very quietly listening to this. What do you think of what you've heard so far?
I think it's a very good initiative, but one of the reasons I think they request money is sometimes you have an overload when you ask people to bring items. I have seen, for example, when the hurricane in Dominica Maria, I was involved in helping NADMA to put barrels together and stuff. And some of the things that people bring is really sad. A lot of it had to be dumped because, like, some people go to their food cupboards and bring out stuff that expired. You don't want that happening. You don't want the authorities here, I think, don't want an overload of old clothes and stuff that you don't want. Just pretend that it's you and what you would like to get. So I think they think it's easier because, remember, it's not the whole of the Bahamas that was affected. So they'll be able to purchase stuff from the islands that are not affected to help the people. And transportation and so is very expensive. That is one of the reasons why they said money as opposed to food stuff and clothes and so I think that explains.
They know exactly what they want and they can go get it.
Yes. I think that is one of the reasons.
All right, let me get back to you, Sean, because I know that you shared something with me this morning on Messenger. Tell everybody what you were talking about on Messenger.
George, I'm sorry, I'm not getting the sound too well in the studio, so I'm sort of trying to follow the drift here a little bit. Let me just say this. Good morning, Sherron, and thank you for your points. Look, you saw from the message I sent you this morning that some friends of mine in Bermuda were already watching a ship being dispatched with, they hoped to achieve 200 tons of aid and hardware, tools, accessories and stuff like this. Is very, very needed, of course. And those island people will need that. With regards to monetary contributions, there's not really too much people can do with money at this point in time, George. There are very limited services on either of the islands. There's very little sanitation. Fresh water, of course, is also at a premium. So we really have to think about, as the gentleman said earlier, not becoming a burden to the situation, but what can we actually do to actually go there and strengthen and do something? And it's not an easy chore, although I must say the initiative and the heartfelt warmth from these guys is lovely that they want to do this. We should remind them as sailors, it's also still hurricane season. And they're sailing up in towards the north of the region, which is not a clever move. So, a boat, like I said, a boat full of good intention is going to get nobody anywhere. We need to really think about this.
You also mentioned that, having additional people on the island could be another burden on the island itself, didn't you?
Absolutely. The boat needs to take enough provision to look after however many people go with it, and its crew, of course, for at least a month. They can't go there looking for provisions because there won't be provisions. They'll need to be able to provision for themselves and, of course, anybody they can help on the outside that's stranded. Going there, when I went to, my boat was one of the first into St. Martin after Hurricane Lewis. And the most important thing I think we bought was the help, which I really didn't want to carry 6 people on my boat. But we brought with us 6 people from the church and from the community who were carpenters, electricians, plumbers. And they could actually put boots on the ground and do something. That gave us a great sense of achievement. And I think, that's also very needed. As to the merit of how quickly aid will come from somewhere else, and we could very quickly be sort of useless. I think, as I said before, if we help one family and we can put a Grenada flag and a Caribbean people flag over that family and say we helped, then that's good enough for me to say we achieved something, George. My plan is to announce a charitable donation possibility on my radio programs here in the Azores, so that if these guys do this, we can help in whatever way we can. We should also be keeping progress if the guys go to see to give people that sense of achievement, and that's very important that people don't just give money and see it sail away. You know, they want to know what's happening, and this is where we come in as journalists, that we may be able to keep the floodlight on the situation, George.
You know, a valid point there, Sean. That's the reason why I keep running these horrendous videos. I just want to keep this in the minds of the Grenadian people. Not that it's hard to keep that in our minds because of what we went through with Ivan. Let me share some comments on social media with you guys, and then I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. First of all, Margaret in New York says, Michelle, cash contributions are most often the best because it allows them to get exactly what is immediately needed. Very often in these situations, when items are sent, it's stuff that's not needed.
Exactly.
People tend to send stuff that is not usable. I remember with Ivan, people brought down to dirty underwear. A lot of stuff had to be dumped. So says Margaret. Benedict Cador says, they were showing eggs on Abaco Island with no one there. So I agree that we should not jump the gun, but wait on proper directives. Margaret says, Sherron, you're quite right. I think you two have the same vision on this whole thing. Michelle Forsyth says, yes, Margaret, we've been there, but also in the direct aftermath, water and relief supplies are most appreciated. Michelle also says, not too much money can do at this time. So I'm a little bit puzzled here. Money or no money?
Okay, she said, not much money can do, but I am reminding you that there are many islands from the Bahamas. There are 2 islands that have been demolished. The other big islands are still there. They're operating as usual. You can get off NASA, for example. A lot of the people went there from Abaco. They have stores open. They have stuff that they can purchase. It is easier to travel with money. It is easier to send money instead of what it would cost to get a boat up there. Use that money instead. If the people asking for money, they know best what they want. I have seen what Margaret said is so true. Up to last year, when we were sending barrels to Dominica with clothes and stuff, I have seen bags of dirty clothes that we have to just dump. We had to use gloves to go through these things. So, you know, the best thing I saw was somebody who emptied their store, and we had new clothes and stuff that people could use, and still, when it get to the other end, you have the problem of sorting it per family.
I think you and Benedict Cador are on the same wavelength. Benedict says the money could be used to house the survivors in their new habitat.
Exactly. You use the money the best way you need it. You see what Sean said about tools? That is so important because you have to rebuild. And those things are heavy. So even tools they can purchase. You know, you go to whoever the authorities are and you tell them exactly what you need. And they may be able to purchase and provide for you.
Margaret says, agreed, but the determination of what relief supplies are needed is not a decision for someone not there to decide. Sean has a chuckle at that. She goes on to say, that is a That is a decision for the disaster committee and people at the site to decide. Remember, the road to hell can be filled with good intentions.
Exactly. One of the
Well
most
said,
important
well
things
said,
is
well said. And I'd
water.
like to say this, George. If we're going to do money, if money's going to be a part of this, then there should be some recognized group, foundation, or religious body that can help us to say where that money needs to go. There is no point in us going up there and throwing dollar bills from our pocket. And there's no point, as you say, in going to invest in materials that are not there. I think one of the main things, one of the main ways we could help, if you look at the video, you'll see strewn all over the island, ripped up boards, ripped up carpentry that's been put, to go there and repair those boards that they could be reused again. This was something that we did in St. Martin. It's something that really helped because there's a lot of timber, a lot of roof tiles, a lot of things there that can be picked up and reused so that we can get back to the rebuilding as quick as possible. But we need to synchronize this with some kind of body there on the island. Otherwise, I think we don't know what we're running into, you know?
Exactly.
You know, Sean, I just want to go off beat here for a minute. Some of the videos I have seen over the past week or so, what was really sad about them was the frustration and the anger coming from the people, from the survivors, okay? A lot of these people have no clue where their children are, their parents, or whoever are. And everybody automatically jumps on government. I have heard a lot of criticism about the way the Bahamian government has been handling this situation. But you know what? I sat in this chair and I thought back to 2004. You know, when hit by a disaster like that, Joel, it hurts and people get frustrated. And you have to blame someone. Who do you blame?
The one
Government.
in charge.
Now, exactly. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we have a top-notch government here who knows a lot about disaster management and all of that. That's not what I'm saying. A lot of these guys don't know their foot from their elbow, okay? But what I'm sensing from these people is just stark frustration. What say you about that, Joe?
It is a fact in terms of after a natural disaster or whatever tragedy it may be. As the word is going, or the contributions in terms of what is better. My take on the holistic thing, as I'm taking the initiative to get up there, my vision of being a part of the relief effort and assistance, my intention is to take as much tools or whatever tools I can get, a generator, even which is where monetary funds is needed to get gasoline, fuel, to be able to ensure that I can function when I get there. Because my intention is to get there, as Sean said, take material and start rebuilding, and that is my intention. So I might not say certain things that people will want to hear, but it's my intention. So it's not I'm just going to take supplies there and just drop it off and don't do anything. Because I remember from Ivan what I did, I was very instrumental in helping people the same way, rebuild this and that. And the position I was in, I didn't have a real shelter for myself, basically.
Yeah.
You know? So this is why I take the initiative. Yes, I know it's a hurricane season still, but at the same time, that shouldn't allow me, I wouldn't allow that to just let me chicken off, you know? So the holistic thing about it, people are frustrated because at the same time, government should have things in place so then they could assist the people. Because the people are part of the functioning system, the citizenship, but they're way off from a lot of things. But the governing body is a parent to a child. The parent, if the parent cannot carry out the responsibility at that moment, and the child can, then the child is looked upon to carry the responsibility. But at the same time, once the parent is able, then the parent has to do their duty as normal. And if the child gets frustrated because the parent is not doing it, then it's only normal, just the same.
Michelle Forsyth, responding to a comment earlier, said, so send back the cruise ships with the aid? Disaster committees can make errors too, can't they? The boat owner who can take supplies on a whim may not have money to give. Both are needed, and in the direct aftermath, supplies are very crucial. Have you listened to the videos? No, Michelle, we watched them. I'm only kidding. Deborah Parker says, I agree with Sean as well as with the others who have spoken ideas of how to. You know, people are listening to the ideas you guys are coming up with, and I think they really do appreciate it. And James Celestine says, the people are already frustrated, so they will do and say anything. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the sad stories coming out, but having been through Ivan, I can relate to them. I can relate to them. And I'm not saying their complaints are not justified, because sometimes government can do a lot more. It's just, and should be doing a lot more. It's just that
It's a fact.
they know diddly squat about what needs to be done.
Exactly.
Every year, for a couple of weeks, they talk about, well, this is how you should be prepared, and this is what you must do, and must do, and must do. Ask them how many of them have done.
Exactly.
Diddly squat.
That is how it is all the time. Sadly.
I think one key thing that we did not speak about is that when Joel arrives, he will be using his yacht along with the other 2 yachts to transport people from the 2 islands to wherever would be safe. So it doesn't make any sense he is going with an empty yacht to transport persons when he could bring stuff along. Like, for instance, we have over 300 cases of water that people need. As it relates to the clothing and everything, I fully understand. I have been collecting contributions over the years for persons, and sometimes clothing that we receive to hand over to persons is not of the best quality, and but we are willing to sit and go through it as every other time and select the best and send it out there. So this is one thing that is you know, very pertinent to Joel's departure from Grenada to the Bahamas. He will also be transporting persons, because we have seen many videos where persons have been refused. Just recently, persons have been refused off of the U.S. boat because they did not possess visas. There have been persons who have been sitting on the airport for days, and they have no idea how they are getting out. I think with all the good intentions that we have, I believe that, you know, it will work out in the benefit of the people. I also believe that, you know, we are capable and we should do whatever we could do to assist persons.
Earle, it did work out for us, you know.
Yeah.
I bet in 2004 you never thought we would be where we are today.
True.
That is true. Factual.
That's true.
And James Celestine says, it's a very hard task for the government of the Bahamas after the many videos I've watched. Just thinking about Ivan, and that's way more terrible, and that was more terrible, brings tears to me. Ian Roberts says, government officials have a responsibility to have vision and foresight so as to be prepared. Having a specialized rescue emergency response boat puts makes realistic support possible. Ian, we are into the second half, my friend, of the hurricane season. Tell me, Pilgrim, where is our list of emergency shelters? Ian, huh? Tell me. All right, no. It's no laughing matter. Margaret Francis says, Michelle, I get your concern, but when these things go willy-nilly, it results in extra work for the people on the ground and also results in lots of waste. I know for a fact that in both Grenada and Dominica, a lot of good donations were dumped or left to rot.
Yes.
Absolutely, Margaret.
Yes.
I think everybody agrees with you.
Yes.
That is stuff that could have been sent to other areas in need. The Bahamas has more than enough experience with this kind of thing. They can handle it, so says Margaret.
I think I disagree with that. Nobody can say they had enough experience of these things. This was a Category 5 hurricane, 200-mile-an-hour winds. The island is still strewn with dead bodies. Nobody gets used to experiencing that, George.
Jem, the sheriff, says great leaders need to pull together people that are resourceful to go on the ground and set a crisis center to properly manage the aftermath of these disasters. Michelle Forsyth says, to the people on your panel who are putting their thoughts into action, thank you, thank you, thank you. Kudos to you.
You're very welcome, Michelle.
Margaret says, that's correct. Ideally, if these structures are put in place before, then when the disaster occurs, it's just to implement.
Exactly.
Nixon Mitchell says, water, flood, sea clear. Try it. Wheel and come again, sir. I don't have the time to try and figure out what you're saying. Folks, listen, we only have about 5 minutes left or so. Put your heads together. And first of all, let me know, are you guys, Sean, should these guys go ahead with the initial plan, or should it be considered shelved?
Oh, I think less haste, more speed. I think what we need to do now is really get a firm grip of their full intent, what they can do, and their intention. Let's not forget, George. I mean, I watched people getting arrested after the hurricane, and they'd gone to St. Martin to help those people. They were from St. Kitts, and they were arrested for looting, and they were actually there helping other people. So, I mean, I'm very considerate that these guys don't run into trouble when they get there. That's why I say, they should have a good anchor point for when they get there, that somebody's coordinating their efforts and their help. They should know exactly what's needed, not make it up as they go along. It's nice, and I appreciate their feeling. God bless them for it. But let's trust in God, but let's tie our camel up. Let's get the right stuff on the boat, get the right people there, and then do it.
What about you, Joel?
Very well said. It's all valid points, but I'm going to say, in my point of view, from my experiences, my outlook, my vision. Now, I know for a fact that if you're not there, you wouldn't know. You can hear a lot of things, you can hear a lot of stories, you can sit and plan and plan and plan. But if you do not take the first step to be able to see what's going on, or make the first step in terms of clearing the path, then you just keep talking and talking and talking and planning. This is where government, they just sit and talk and talk and talk, and then when it happens, they still don't have nothing. They cannot do anything. Just the same, and this is what it proves. So for my part, I believe I'm going to go there. I have my vision. I experienced Ivan. I've experienced a lot of things, and with my knowledge, my skill, I'm willing to use that in any way I can to help and assist. But I'm not going to go empty-handed, first of all. So I'm willing to go on the ground. It's my initiative. I get there, and I'll deal with what I have to deal with, what I can deal with.
You have a smartphone?
Yes, I do.
Good. He has a smartphone. Sean, let's put this guy to work for us. Joel, when you make it up to the Bahamas, you're going to be on this program. From the Bahamas, I hope. I hope they have internet by then. Actually, they do a lot of stuff getting out to the Bahamas. Please, we need full updates from you on a regular basis.
Well, I look forward to that just the same, because I don't want to be looked at as just getting there and just disappear, And I would, the people who would be accompanying me, so far I have basically one crew, and maybe I'll take another one. If any volunteers are willing to get there, I would make sure that we are uniformed, that we can be identified.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
We can be identified and as a team and relief effort aid to the Bahamas.
You know, Sharon,
George,
the thing.
let me just say, I've known Joel Mark for some time. I really respect his bravery. He sailed single-handedly back to Grenada from here, which was no mean treat in a boat which was not particularly well maintained. He was really doing it on a shoestring. And I've no doubt of his courage and his good intention whatsoever. My fears are, having seen these things go so drastically wrong before, I just want him to get it right, and that we can all share in that success and help him with that success. I'm willing to do radio programs. You're going to do radio programs. Let's keep him in the loop, and let's see what we can do.
Thank you, Sean.
I agree with something that Sean said about zoning in on a specific person, having an anchor in the Bahamas. So if you're looking at that guy, the blind guy, I don't know his name, but a specific family, for example, and you help them to rebuild that house, and then you take the next step and you help somebody else to build another house, instead of just going and I'm here to help. Find a specific person and help that person, and then move on and so on. I think you have to have a plan.
Deborah Parker says, help the situation. The most important thing, I think, is organization. They do need money, water, food, building supplies, medical help, and the list goes on and on. We all know a firm foundation for a solid plan is so vital. Leaders who are willing and able to come in and take control of each need, I feel, is the best way to handle it. Not to just go in without a real doable plan and knowledge on how to complete the task. Solid leadership, to me, is the first step. All right. Let's hear you now, Mr. Maitland.
Okay, so
You're going to be the anchor. Huh?
Very important piece.
yeah, what I would do in a situation like this, in order to respond, most times it's best to put yourself in the situation and see how it feels. The fear of feeling alone on an island that you once called home, that has been destroyed by a hurricane, not knowing when you might get on to the next boat, not knowing how long supplies will last, the rations that might be handed out. No, there is need for more. And if I was in the situation, I would want everyone to help. And there's something in the world that we need to recognize: there could never be too much help, there could never be too much kindness. And this is exactly what we have to do, and it will be done. We will organize and send those items that are needed: the water, the canned stuff, all the canned stuff that I have in my possession to send on the yacht. They are not expired. We actually just purchased, or it was donated by Miss Patricia Julian. We went to IGA and we picked it up. So they're all good stuff. They all can be used. Things will get better. We're here to share hope, to spread love. Giving is a gift that we have, and we must always use that gift. In times of crisis, we must always use our abilities to better a situation. The plan has been established and it will be executed. He is not traveling blindly, as some may think. But we will get there and things will be better.
All right. All right. Let me say thank you very much, first of all, to Sherron for sharing some of her time this morning, for Joel coming up with this idea, for Earle going to his support, and for Sean out there in the Azores. You know, folks, what this past hour has said to me is that Grenadians do care. And Sean, you used to live here, so you know this place pretty darn well. And even though you're long gone, you still care very deeply about this country, I know. So I want to thank all of you guys because it's important that you know that you're not alone. There are also a lot of other Grenadians out there who share visions similar to what you have shared this morning and would like to help in one way or another. And I hope they will. But I'll tell you one thing, it will always be at the backs of their minds, the amount of wastage, and Margaret alluded to that in her presentation this morning. I think a lot of us remember what happened back in Ivan, when so many things donated to us were just either abused or wasted. And we've heard what went on in Dominica after their fiasco, 2 years ago? It became a whole political issue. Can you imagine that? People are dying and politicians are playing politics. Can you believe that? Believe it.
Ridiculously true.
It happened. It happened. So, folks, pat yourselves on the back for the contributions that you made this morning, and please now go out and contribute in some way or another. And I do hope that the authorities coordinate this response effort on behalf of the Grenadian people, because we just can't afford. We don't have much to lose, please. So let's just use the little that we have very wisely, huh? Please. The Bahamian people are depending on us. Based on what I've seen, the whole world is reaching out to the Bahamas right now. That place is going to be a totally different place a few years from now. Look at us, 2004. How many of you dreamed you'd be sitting here listening to Grant and Roberts and Maitland and Mark and Paton? Nah, we never dreamed. But here we are today, by God's grace.
To God be the glory.
Yeah. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this morning. But as by the way, it's 2 minutes after the hour. Now, as we do every morning, just before we pull the plug, parting word from the Holy Scriptures. And today, it comes from the book of Hebrews, chapter 6, verses 10, 11, and 12. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. We want each of you to show the same diligence to the very end, so that what you hope for may be fully realized. We do not want you to become lazy, but to imitate those who, through faith and patience, inherit what has been promised. Hebrews chapter 6, 10, 11, 12. Thank you all. Don't even touch your headset yet. Don't even touch your headset yet. There's Sherron. Hang on there, Sherron. Just let me say goodbye to my dear friends and to your friends too. Folks, thanks a lot for joining us. See you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Bye. Love you guys.